increments in between. Thank you for the amplification. That helps. And so there's a number of different spiritual practical tools that I want to give you as incremental ways to measure progress. Getting from point A to point B by discernible measures. Now, this can be really applied, universally applied to anything in life. First thing is to pick a goal. Everyone turn to your neighbor and say, pick a goal. Pick a goal. I didn't say pick a nose, so in the back we're kind of, no, pick a goal. And, this is very important. You don't know where you're going, and you'll never get there if you don't pick a goal. And it seems obvious, right? Very, one of these prima facie truths. To use a fancy word I learned in college. Everything else I forgot. Anyways, one of these things, you can't get anywhere without knowing where you're going. And so once you've picked a goal, then you actually have a way to measure progress because you have a point B. Now your point A, where is that? Well, look down at your feet, everybody. That's where you're standing right now. The only way to make progress from point A to point B is to first of all know what your goal is, and secondly have a metric by way to measure progress. So I'm going to give you a metric to measure progress, and it's going to be called rule your atmosphere. Now, atmosphere is something that follows you wherever you go. How many have been to space in the room? Anybody been to space? No. The reason why space is an unpopular destination is, number one, it's very expensive. Number two, you can't breathe. Right? So if you were to go to space right now, without very expensive accommodations, you would enter outside of Earth's atmosphere and immediately die. Anybody interested in immediately dying? Well, since you haven't committed suicide this morning, I'm just going to assume no. So, all of that to say, atmosphere is absolutely essential. Only a fool would deny it. But though all of us know that atmosphere is absolutely essential, you can't live without it, and a lot of us wouldn't exist, and we know it, in space, 2 seconds without a spacesuit. Nevertheless, many of us have no idea how to rule our atmosphere. When was the last time you thought about the oxygen that you breathe? When was the last time you woke up and thought how many layers make up the system of air and the bioenvironment and all of the necessary systems that make up the environment in which I breathe? No, we just take it for granted. And this is why you don't really have any power in your life, and this is why you aren't making any progress, and this is why you aren't making your goals, because you take too many things for granted. And until you learn how to rule your atmosphere, you're going to continue to be a passive molecule, so to speak, interacting, insignificant, particulate member of the gigantic human race without making any significant dent in your family, in your business, in your social relationships, in your marriage, in what, you pick the domain. I'll teach you how to be successful and progress to that end, if and only if you learn how to rule your atmosphere. So everybody get out your pens or pull out your tablets. I'm going to give you 6 ways to rule your atmosphere over the next 6 weeks, and I'm only going to give you one today because I know a lot of you, it's going to take an entire week for you to process this before you, and the other thing is, you won't be successful to the end, just know this, you won't be successful at the end of the 6-week series. And tell your neighbors too, they better catch up with what they missed. And if they want to learn how to rule their atmosphere, they're going to have to come all 6 times. So just a little bait the hook there and get you to come to church because I don't really know any other way to keep us the pews except for to kind of lead you and tantalize you and pulling so many sweets. Anyways, first rule your atmosphere, is barometric pressure. That's correct. Barometric pressure. You need to have a way to analyze anxiety and stress in your life and to know where your limits are. So B, barometric pressure. I want to tell you a long story, and make it short, about a time where I realized the importance of analyzing the barometric pressure of stress in my own life. I was finishing up seminary at First Liberal University down there in such and such state, and I had a lot of exams I was studying for. I was just recently married to my smoking hot wife. She's right down there. Say hi. Everyone say hi, Miss Smoking Hot Wife. And so anyway, and I was, needless to say, very distracted. Just got married to a smoking hot wife. I had a lot of things going on. We had seminaries coming up. We got midterms at First Liberal Seminary, and so on and so forth. And let me tell you, my barometric pressure was through the roof. And my wife will remember this better than me, because I came home after that first test to get into seminary, and I blew my stack. I blew my lid. I said, I can't take this anymore. I threw my books through the window of a rented apartment, ran up the bill afford on top of my rent, and so on and so forth. And she said, this isn't going to work. And I said to myself, you're right. I'm studying to actually, make some progress and be, have some success and advance in this particular domain, namely, snowing people that have any theological understanding and a group such as yourself. And there's no way I'm going to be able to psychologically coerce them that I'm an expert at anything if I don't learn my own limitations of stress and learn to measure my own barometric pressure. So anyways, a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. No, this particular instance isn't maybe your own. I think we can all remember one of those moments where our barometric pressure went through the roof and we basically exposed our incompetence by, this mental breakdown and so on and so forth. So that's the first thing. I thought all week, what's a Bible verse I could really stick, onto what I would prefer to say to actually make it give the second. I thought about that, and I said, this is such a self-evident truth that you don't even need a Bible verse. This is something that your coworker can realize. This is something that your marriage partner can realize. This is something that a guy in the street can realize. This is beyond the Bible, so to speak. And anyways, with that, I'd like you to write that down. This is just an introduction. I promise next week we're going to get into the Bible. I know some of you get real nervous if we don't get into the Bible. So we're going to do that next week. But in the meantime, I want you to think about that. And then next week we'll continue.